Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Johnny Mandolin Show. We got a great show tonight. I have two authors on, two beautiful women who are going to tell us all about their books. And speaking of music and a talented musician, and somebody who's kind of brave and boldly goes where few have gone before, I want to bring to the microphone Miss Heid Kole. Hey, Heidi.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's good to have you on my show. I really appreciate you coming down here to Centanni Broadcasting. Heidi, you are a very interesting woman. First of all, you're an author, and you've written a book, and I'm holding the book. It's called The Subway Diaries. And you're a musician. You're a professional musician, and you perform in the subways.
I am, and I do, yes, much to my family's chagrin. Yes, I do. I've been a musician most of my life, a singer, songwriter, as well as a dancer, voiceover, and everything. But the subways always intrigued me when I first moved to New York City 7 years ago. And I came as a stunt person and a musician, and I wasn't quite sure which would occupy most of my time. And I had an accident, which...
on the set?
Well, it was an ice skating accident, and I ended up in physical therapy for a long, long time with a concussion and whiplash. It was the worst accident I've had. And I remember laying on the physical therapy table and knowing my money was running out and talking to my physical therapist and thinking, I kind of want to go into the subways. I think maybe I could just earn some money. And she kept encouraging me, and one day I brought my guitar up. It was freezing. It was February in New York City, and I knew if I went home I wouldn't come back out again. So I brought my guitar, and I made myself go in. And I went in at 59th Street and Columbus Circle. And I got to tell you, I've done a lot of things. I mean, sung on cruise ships, done off-Broadway, radio, stunt work, toured with shows. Playing in those trains for the first time is probably the most terrifying thing that I've ever done in my life.
It can be pretty scary. I mean, just standing on the platform with a train coming by you at 60 miles an hour can be pretty scary.
But you feel so naked. That's the thing. When you first go down there, it's like it's the dichotomy, because you're standing there hoping no one will notice you, but wishing people would if you're going to make the effort to play a song. So that first time, it's a real trip of your head.
Mm-hmm. And did you play on the train, or did you play on the platform, or on the mezzanine? I
have yet to play on a train. I have a good friend of mine who keeps telling me I need to get my train legs and get on the train, but I've yet to. There's a whole chapter in the book on train legs, but I play the platforms primarily. I fell in love with the trains. The first day I went down, people asked me why I play the trains versus singing in clubs or bars, and there's something left me the first day I was down there, and I didn't know what it was, and it left me, and what I was left with when whatever that was left me was a complete sense of abandon and freedom, and that's what made me want to go back. Plus that energy, that exchange of energy you get when you're a musician. So
yes.
When you play and you have that, it's something you feel, but you can't put words to. When the audience gives and you give and they and by the end of the book, I realized what that was that left me, and it was ego. And when you sing in a shower, for instance, you have no ego. You don't care what people think about you, and you cannot sing on the platforms with your ego. It has to be left, in your apartment, whatever it is, because you can't. And I talk to other musicians about the trains, and if I had my way, I would say every musician needs to go down there at least once for maybe 5 days and see what it's like to perform in a space where no one wants to be there. No one's chosen to be there. They have to be there just to get home or get to work. They don't. It's too cold. It's too hot. It's too noisy. It smells. And see what you're left with as a musician to grab the audience.
Absolutely. Well, that is very insightful. And I know I've played a lot of gigs like that where I felt like I was on a subway platform. Now let's talk about your book, because the book is called The Subway Diaries, and obviously is directly related to this. So tell us about it.
Yeah. That title, the book, I feel like it just sort of borrowed me for its inception, because I'm a musician. I didn't consider myself an author before this, and when I first went under, the days and the evenings, they were so full of insanity and magic at the same time. And every time I came up above ground, people would say, well, so what happened tonight? What happened tonight? What happened? And I found myself spending so much time explaining and, describing the magic of the day. I would never get home to eat, and I would never get to practice, and I needed to play music. So I started to write it at that point on MySpace. I love your names for the social networking. What was it? InYourFace.com?
Oh, I was just trying to...
Anyway, on InYourFace.com.
Facebook, MySpace.
So I created a blog, and people would read it, and then I had lots of followers globally, and I'd get comments, and I'd also get a lot of hate mail if I took some days off. Like if I was tired and I didn't write, I'd get like, where have you been? What's going on underground? Anyway, after about 2 years, I kept getting hints and emails and little just words from people. You should write a book. You should write a book. And I was like, no, I'm a musician. A year of that later, I said, okay, I'll write a book. And my main reason for writing the book was the same reason I wrote the blogs, which was this world changed me. It became my family. It engulfed me in a way that I don't think any community ever has in my entire life. They take care of me. They watch out for me. And I every time I came up on 42nd Street, I would compare that to what we're doing above ground. And it's both my personal journey, of course, but it's also a sociological study of this subculture of musicians and artists down underground, which functions on a completely separate set of rules than we do right now, and it works well. There's no oversight. There's no one saying you should play at this time, you should play at that time, you should stop, you should.
I don't think it's covered by the musicians' union.
It's not unionized yet, no. And there's a sense of complete. There's honesty and gratitude. I've had people buy patch cords for me when they wanted my spot. They needed a spot. My patch cord was broken, and someone went up all the way uptown, bought a patch cord, came back, gave it to me, and went and looked for a spot in the rest of the station, things like that. Or give me water on a hot day, watch while I go to the bathrooms. They're just FYI, anyone considering playing in the trains, there are no bathrooms, there's no water, for a girl, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a bit inconvenient.
Yeah.
Now, and what would you say the weirdest thing is? Did you get anybody giving you something strange or I don't know, threatening you, or a marriage proposal, or what came down?
I've had a lot of marriage proposals. They seem to come in waves, like all in one day, or people coming up and kissing me, like 4 or 5 people, random people. Oh my God! And they kiss me. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I got a mini food processor once.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was useful.
Oh, I have one. I love it. I love to cook. I have one.
I get lots of candy. Tons of candy, and I keep it in my case now. People sometimes, it's like a lending library for sweets. So, and weird things. Well, that's every day. But I guess the most recent was I met the Wizard of New York. Yes, he's a fascinating character.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, it's the whole thing is crazy characters.
Yeah, well, the whole subway thing is a whole microcosm of culture, and I'm always reading. I read this interesting book called The Mole People, about people who live in the subway.
Right.
And also there's another great book. It's called Forgotten New York, where they talk about whole subway stations that have been sealed off and forgotten, and 40, 50 years later they knock it open and here's a station.
I am so fascinated by that. I just am so fascinated by subcultures, the old history of New York, everything. And this is one of the last, East Village used to be this way. You could go and art was just oozing up from the sidewalks, and gentrification keeps pushing the artists out, and it's happening faster and faster and faster. And I'm holding my breath and hoping that Walmart doesn't take over the subways, or the subways is one of the last places in New York you can go. You as a jazz musician can go down one day and be a jazz musician. If you're like, I always wanted to be a rock musician. Let me try it on Tuesday. You can go down and be a rock musician. We were talking about the adventurous things people leave in my case. I think the thing that one of the other things that people are unaware about of the musicians in the subways, they think it's probably a great bohemian, free and easy life, and it is bohemian, and it is free and easy in many ways. But the transit police are a huge part of the subway diaries. Yeah, well, and there is no rhyme or reason. I think people ask, well, why do they ticket you or arrest you? Which people say, they arrest you? Yeah, they arrest you. They move you along sometimes, and sometimes they ignore you. And there is really no rhyme or reason for it. Sometimes there's big sweeps underground where they just clear out all the musicians. And you won't know why, and it'll be because someone needed to further their career, and so they put down they gave the word to do so. I think my friend Danny, who's in the book, put it great. The other day I was giving him my spot at 42nd Street, and I said, Danny, there's a cop. And he goes, oh, where? And I said, well, it's okay. It's a female cop. She won't bother you. And he goes, oh, yeah, they do. If they ain't got no loving the night before, they'll bother you. They sure will. Yeah. And Danny's great. And then I said, oh, he goes, yeah, but if they get themselves some loving, they just walk on by. Danny's a character. You'll love Danny in there. He's my rock underground.
Good. Well, we'll have to read that when we read the book.
Yeah.
How can people get the book?
Well, it's both on my site at thesubwaydiaries.com. It's also at Barnes & Noble at Union Square. It's at the Transit Museum at Grand Central Station.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Yeah, it's at a funny little place called the Video Cafe, and on 9th Avenue. They've been selling more. They've been like acing the sales. And we're in Politics and Prose, which is a well-known bookstore in Washington, D.C. So, and it's expanding, minute by minute. We're getting into more and more stores.
Good. And I know we have listeners from all over the country and all over the world. So.
It's on every online site. And for some reason, there's a huge international following and curiosity about the New York City subways and the life down there. I think people like to be there without getting their hands dirty. They like to know what this world is about.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I have a lot of friends who live in California, and their image of the subway is everything they've seen in every really bad Charles Bronson movie from 1980. So they're like, "You go down there? Aren't you afraid? I mean, do you carry a weapon?" It's like, no.
And people ask me that about the money. Aren't you scared of having your case open with lots of money? And I never am. I maybe it's just being naive, but I just have this sense that, if someone's going to take it, they're going to take it. There's nothing I can do about it. And I just have this, I feel more safe underground sometimes than I do above, which
Walking
is
around.
probably...
Well, with the taxi drivers and the other people, I understand.
The delivery guys.
And you have a blog, too.
I do have a blog. It's on the website there, the Subway Diaries / People comment. There's also a wall there, like on Facebook, where you can make comments. And join me on Twitter. We need Twitter followers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I always need Twitter people.
That's Heidi Kole, and it's HeidikOle. Heidi Kole. What was the single biggest obstacle in getting the book out, if there is such a thing?
Getting it written or getting it
out in your hand. A lot of people wrote books that never came out. I'm talking about I'm holding a book.
Finishing a book.
Finishing a book. Printing a book or getting it out. What would you say? When did you come to the point you say, forget it, I'm never going to do this, and then you did it? Probably 20 times, right?
It's pretty much every morning when I wake up.
I
I can't believe I have to re-talk myself into doing it.
Right. So she sends me texts, and I'm like, and I send her texts. I mean, we're like a mutual support team. She falls apart, I pick her up. I fall apart, she picks me up.
Well, that's great, though. That's, to have you both on the mic at the same time and both accomplished published authors.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled.
It's a lot. 17-hour days for an entire year with a break for the gym, 1 hour. It's an intense amount of work. So I encourage anyone to do it, but don't expect to have a life at the same time.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough when you're dealing with that many, issues, trying to write the book, trying to put it together, and then you've got all the logistics of how to get it printed and the right color and the right this and that, and then you got to market it, right?
Right.
When it's when you want to go to the Bahamas, but you can't.
Yeah, but you can't. On not till you're a famous author, then you can go to the Bahamas. But until then, you got to market it.
Oh, one other thing I just wanted to mention.
Yeah.
You can also, of course, when you find me in the trains, you can also always buy a signed copy there. People do that all the time. And I'm often at 59th Street and 42nd, so on the AC.
Oh, AC&E?
Yeah, it's my favorite spot.
Okay, good. Well, they'll be looking for you out there. What about, what do you think, and this is for both of you, JC already talked a little bit about doing a series on her book. Do you have
plans?
Ideas on future books?
Yes, but after my next project is the film version of the Subway Diaries, which I'm working with some people on, and welcome ideas. I've had a lot of people come, but I want it to be the absolute right combination of people and
Sure.
ideas to make it really pop. It's going to be based on the Subway Diaries and not an exact copy. So I'm excited about that.